Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. We talked about players the Niners should draft. How about a player they should not draft? We'll talk about that or talk about him coming up next. But first, we are brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary, the owners of Pig and a Pickle. Tell them that Krug sent you. Get some brisket chili. It's all amazing. It's all amazing. The brisket chili you can't get in Emeryville. You can only get it in Corte Madera. It is amazing. Absolutely amazing with real chunks of brisket right there in the chili. It's fantastic. So, Pig and a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And this video is brought to you by our friends at Claw Daddy Arcades. That's right. They got 3 locations in Southern California, plus spots in Fresno and Modesto, and a brand new Claw Daddy Arcade location coming soon to the Bay Area. Claw Daddy Arcades is bringing family-friendly fun to communities across California. Follow them on Instagram at claw_daddy_arcades and find a location near you. And when you stop by, tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. Big thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for supporting the Krug Show and being a sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. A lot of speculation about who the Niners are going to take in the upcoming NFL draft. And there's a lot of options, right? I mean, you look at all the different mocks. Some people say Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant, Armand Membu, Will Campbell. One of the names that keeps getting mocked to the 49ers often is Mykel Williams, the Georgia defensive end, who absolutely looks the part. I mean, if you just wanted to say who looks like a great player, this guy looks like a great player. 6'5", 267 pounds. He's a third-year junior. He's only 20. He's a young player. He's from Columbus, Georgia, went to Hardaway High School, and wore number 13 for the Dogs. 2-year starter for Georgia. He played the jack edge rusher in Kirby Smart's scheme, lining all over the front 7 from a 3-5 technique situation to a stand-up outside linebacker. He was a consensus top 10 recruit out of high school, and he made an immediate impact as a freshman. His junior year wasn't the true breakout year many expected to see, but he definitely, and he's battled an ankle injury, but he's got bend and he's got length. And if you look at him just coming off the bus, you'd be like, oh yeah, give me that guy. 6'5", 260, 10.5-inch hands, 34 and 3/8-inch arms. He's got almost an 83-inch wingspan. He is really, really exciting. Well, then, and everybody expected him to work out like a monster, except he really didn't. His 40 was almost 4.8. He ran a 4.77 40. That's not very good. His 10-yard split of 1.61 is, slower than Brock Purdy's. And then, he definitely looks the part. He's got an NFL frame. He's got really long arms. He's got good strength. He looks the part. He'll occasionally just destroy a tight end and look just amazing doing it. And people are like, oh, get him. He's light on his feet, can drop into the flat, several things. He was a team captain for 4 games this year. Kirby Smart said he's very versatile for us in terms of on the field, but there's no greater value than what he does in the locker room. He's a great leader for us. And, I don't want to say that Kirby is full of it, but Kirby was talking up Robert Beal hugely a couple years ago. What's Robert Beal done for the 49ers? He runs sub 4.5. He's an edge setting monster. Really? Kirby talks up his guys so his guys get drafted and so his guys are loyal to him because that's the right thing to do. But when you're talking about, strong character, he's very versatile for us on the field, but there's no greater value than what he does in the locker room. In other words, his greatest value is over here where you can't see it because you may not think he's got great value from what you've seen. So let's talk a little bit about what I've seen and what jumps out when you watch him. this is not a guy who has a lot of moves. This guy looks the part, 6'5", 260, but he doesn't have a well-designed rush plan. And he definitely doesn't have, an arsenal of moves. Like if you watch Mike Green from Marshall, you see a spin move, you see a swim move, you see a show, a dip and rip kind of a move. He's got 3 or 4 other moves. When you watch Mykel Williams, I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that. I see a guy who comes out of his stance and rushes the same way over every time. He moves his hands a lot, but there's a lot of wasted movement there. It's like he doesn't get a lot out of his hands. Like a really great pass rusher can set up an offensive lineman almost just alone with his hands, like where he puts his hands and how he utilizes his hands, and can get by an offensive tackle without speed just by having the right hand placement with the right timing. This guy doesn't have any of that. He doesn't have any of that. And so it all reverts back to just base strength. And he has some good strength. So it's not like it's game over, but he doesn't have that hand usage. And he's really unrefined and needs a lot of coaching. He also, even though he's athletic, he comes up out of his stance and he's just upright at the snap, and just blockers get underneath him and just halt his rush or move him in the run game. I mean, he exposes his chest and he loses all of his power. And he does it pretty consistently. And then you look at the tackle production and it isn't there. He's got really low end tackle production. He's got these amazing physical traits, but it never meets the production never meets that. And that's where I see a lot of Robert Beal. Georgia is a factory. Georgia gets amazing recruits. They get some of the greatest athletes in the country. Every year, there are Georgia players who don't even, and Alabama players and LSU players that didn't even really play. And they just left the program and they're like, now I'm in the draft. Yeah, but who are you? You didn't even play that much. Robert Beal only played sporadically. And yet he's 6'4", 260 pounds, absolutely ripped, and ran 4.48. And yet, what has he done for the 49ers? Now, I don't want to say Mykel Williams is Robert Beal, because everybody's an individual, and I look at everybody as an individual. But it makes me concerned that Beal was so touted and has done nothing. And now here's a guy that looks the part, and yet he's got low-end production across the board. Then you look at Georgia. The other thing that gets hidden from the Georgia players is they play in such a ridiculously deep rotation that they don't play very much. So like their team wins and they're on the team and they played, but then you're like, well, he was there. I didn't see him that much. He didn't do that much. Well, sure enough, he played in a super deep rotation. He averaged just 33.5 defensive snaps per game in 2024. He averaged 29.3 snaps in 2023 and 27.1 snaps in 2022. There could be 75 snaps in an NFL game or a college game. There could be 80 snaps in a college game. These games go on forever. There's 13 series a game. To play 27 and then 29 and then 30, he's not playing all the snaps. So he's playing in a rotation. In the NFL, he's going to be asked to play, not in a rotation all the time. I mean, he'll play in a little bit of a rotation, but he's going to be asked to play, especially as a first-round draft choice. And then he missed 2 games and parts of several other games because of a grade 2 high left ankle sprain, suffered in September. He missed 2023 spring practice after aggravating a previous foot injury, which required surgery in April of 2023. So I think he has to be a little bit investigated as far as his health with the foot and the ankle. But then when you look at this kid, I mean, tremendous athlete, no question about it. No question about it. He was a tremendous athlete at Hardaway High School in Columbus, Georgia, 4-year varsity letterman. But when you look at he was a 5-star recruit. I mean, Williams was the 2nd-ranked defensive lineman in that 2022 draft class, the recruiting class, behind Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan was the number 1 recruit among defensive linemen. He went to A&M. This guy was the number 2 recruit, and he was on his way to SC. He was going to play for SC and for Clay Helton, and then they fired Clay Helton. And so once they fired Clay Helton, I think his family said, "Hey, you know what? Let's play close to home." And he's from Columbus, Georgia, so he went to Georgia at that point. He got out of his commitment to USC and played at Georgia. So he was the top ranked recruit in Kirby Smart's 2022 draft class. And then he just, this year he opts to skip his fourth year and enter the NFL draft. Lots of players do that. But I'm just seeing a guy that, man, he looks the part. And every single year, these powerhouse programs, Bama, LSU, Georgia, Ohio State, every single year, they produce players for the draft. And they're always great athletes and highly rated and this and that. But they don't all make it. Some make it, some don't. And when I watched Georgia, I saw I turned on Georgia a lot. Why? Because they're a fun team to watch. Jalon Walker showed up on every film. Malachi Starks showed up on every film. Mykel Williams showed up very, very rarely. And if you see this guy and you're like, whoa, look at this guy, 6'5", 260. He's so ripped, it looks like he's been weaned on a Nautilus machine. And you're like, oh, wow, this guy's going to really run. And then he ran 4.77. 4.77? I mean, there's 300-pound guys that run 4.77. There's offensive linemen that run close to that. I was hoping to see something in the low 4.6s, 4.62, 4.63, that really shows he's an athlete, special athlete. So he doesn't have, he runs in the 4.8 range at 260 pounds. He played in a deep rotation, so he didn't have tons of production. Didn't have lots and lots of tackles. I mean, he just didn't. So, once again, Georgia produces monsters every year. And Robert Beal was 6'4", 260, 4.48, hasn't done a thing. And Mykel Williams, to me, is nowhere close to Jalon Walker. People are like, oh, well, Jalon Walker, Mykel Williams, they're basically the same guy. Basically the same guy. You got to be kidding me. One guy is a great stack backer who can also rush as an undersized guy and wreak havoc and has an advanced rush plan and plays with tons of passion and kind of was the absolute leader, the alpha of the Georgia defense. And the other guy looks the part and occasionally makes a flashy play, but the production's not there. Oh, but you know what? This guy's going to test off the charts, but he didn't. So you didn't test off the charts. You don't have great production. There's not a lot of there. So, a lot of talk about, Shamar Stewart from A&M. He doesn't have a lot of production. Shamar Stewart led A&M in pressures, and he has an unbelievable motor. I'd rather gamble on a prospect like that than gamble on a prospect like this, who plays at a program where every year there's somebody who has great measurables who doesn't play well at all in the NFL. And then, to watch their games this year and rarely, if ever, see Mykel Williams, rise up and make big plays. No way. There's no way I would take that guy with the 11th pick. So I know there'll be lots of people saying, draft Mykel Williams. I think it's a huge mistake. That, the one thing about the NFL draft, and an old scout told this to me years ago, and he's totally true, totally right. The NFL draft is about identifying false favorites. Everybody's a favorite. Everybody's an All-American. Everybody's, the best player on their team. Every player's their head coach, their college head coach's favorite. Everybody is a favorite, and yet there's a huge bust, potential for all these prospects. So how do you come to grips with that? Well, the bottom line is it's about identifying false favorites. Guys fail for a myriad of reasons. I'm not saying this guy's going to fail. I don't think he's going to fail per se. There's too much athleticism, too much strength and talent there to just fail altogether. But I think Mykel Williams is just going to be an okay player. I think he's going to be an NFL player for, I think he could play 10 years in the league, but I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar. I don't see a special star-like player there in Mykel Williams. And if I'm taking a defensive end with the 11th pick overall, I need a star. So not enough testing. despite the fact we were told he was going to test like a monster. Not enough production, despite the fact we've been told he is a monster on the field. And those two factors for me say no to Mykel Williams at the 11th pick overall. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.